Hi everyone. Well, it looks like my Facebook Live session didn't work. There was obviously issues with it. So I'm going to start again from scratch and then upload this video, and hopefully then the information will be here. I'm not sure what's happened. I will give it another go again. So today what I wanted to do was talk about filling out a Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. And I've had some interesting experiences myself and in working with people recently, and so I thought it was worthwhile talking about that and sharing those things just in case any of it resonated with you. So first of all, I guess it's one of those things, the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet is the thing that we hear Katie talk about so much and talk about completing in terms of in any given situation. Then what she recommends is that we complete a Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. My story is that a Judge Your Neighbour worksheet is the only way, so that the paper form that Katie has downloadable from thework.com is the only way for me to capture the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. And what I've begun to notice is that's not true. And I've also noticed that there are different times when different ways work for me in terms of capturing the information and what's going on for me. And so here's some of those tricks and ways that I've used to capture the information, and then that allows me then to complete the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. So first of all, I think what I notice sometimes is that I'm not comfortable, or I haven't been comfortable, judging the other person. For me, there have been times when I've noticed that my thoughts are very much centered on myself, and I don't feel comfortable writing a statement about somebody else. So judging my neighbour. And in that, it then creates, I suppose, a problem if I want to call it a problem, but it makes it difficult to write a worksheet that's not about me. I. What I found when I was doing my worksheets on me is that I would get into my spiral of it's all my fault and being down on myself. And what I did realize is that if I am able to turn it outwards and write my statements about someone else, then it eases up on the pressure that I put on myself and the judgments that I have about myself in that moment. And so if you're noticing that it's not easy to write a Judge Your Neighbour, so write your worksheet about someone else, perhaps you might start by writing down your statements about yourself. So allow yourself to judge yourself on paper first. So write down what you're thinking about yourself, put it on paper, and then allow yourself to sit in the space and notice before that, what was it you were thinking and believing and judging about that other person? Because what you will notice if you allow yourself to go there is that you did have those thoughts about the other person. You were judging the other person in those moments before you jumped into the space of protection and self-protection by judging yourself. I found them. They're there. They were there, and it's just that I jump into the protection space of being about me because that feels safer than the unknown of judging somebody else and being criticized for that or caught out for that or whatever other story I have going on in my mind. So maybe just give yourself the permission to write down what it is about yourself, and then just notice those thoughts that you did have about the other person and just allow yourself to go there. That's the first way of perhaps getting to writing your Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. Now, sometimes it's the process of writing that makes it difficult. So that simple thing of trying to put words on paper, and that doesn't always work. And so what about recording your story? I've used this method several times and it's worked really, really well for me, especially if I've been very wound up. So very emotional, very caught in the moment, not able to get out of it. What I will do is I will take myself for a walk and go and find a quiet place, or I will sometimes even do it as I am walking. I will put my recorder on my phone and I will tell my story. So I will go for broke on exactly what was going on for me. You know, I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm opposite my partner at the bench. He's at the sink. He's washing the dishes. And in that moment, I'm trying to get him to listen and understand what I'm trying to say. I want him to see my point of view. I want him to tell me that, you know, he's heard what I've said and he's going to consider it. And what's he doing? His head's down. He's not focusing on me. He's not paying attention to me. He's totally ignoring me. I am so frustrated. In that moment, I could reach over the bench and I could punch him in the face. You know, I want him to look at me. I want him to pay attention to me. I want him to focus on what I'm saying. You know, I just need him to do that. I need him to look at me, because if he looks at me, then at least I know he's paying attention to me. Can you hear in that moment that I've spoken out loud a number of the statements that go on the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet? And what I'm doing is using the emotion of the moment, of me sitting in the emotion of the moment, to describe exactly what's going on for me. And it's on a recording, which means that once I've had my rant on the phone, on the recording, what I do is I go back and listen to it. And in going back and listening to it, I begin to hear my statements. I hear the statements in my story that's right there, and I then capture those on the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. But they're there for me, already in a format that's easy for me to go to or to have, rather than me trying to write it down when it's difficult to write it down. So audio, capturing it on audio, is another way to find the statements by allowing yourself to just record your voice as to what's going on for you in that particular moment. Now, perhaps another thing that might happen is the words are the difficult thing. Writing specific words, or writing it in a format that makes sense, or that's short or sharp or simple. So this morning I was playing around with this concept of writing things down. What I started with was this space of drawing what was going on for me in this situation. So you'll see I've captured pictures, and later on I went back and wrote the statements beside them. But the pictures are the things that are going on for me in that moment. And I've just drawn it graphically. You know, I've captured it in pictures. And then from there, I'm able to transfer the statements and what's going on for me onto my Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. So if you're a graphical person, or someone that likes to draw or capture things in a visual form, this might work for you, to draw it out and then transfer it to your Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. The other format of that is mind mapping. So I went and used this very same situation and drew a mind map. And again, I mind mapped and then went back and put in the needs, wants, how I see them, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. I put those in afterwards, but I simply just captured my first statement. You know, she shouldn't ignore me. She shouldn't interrupt me. She shouldn't interrupt me. And then from there, I just captured the statements, but in a mind map, as a mind map. And from there, I can go and transfer that onto my Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. Or I can use this to do my work. And then there's nothing that says it has to be on that worksheet. What we're talking about here is capturing the emotion and the number one statement. So the core belief that we have. Capturing our wants, capturing our advice, capturing our needs, capturing what we think of that other person in that moment, and then what it is that we don't want to experience. So it doesn't have to be on the Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. If you have those prompts, you can use any other format that you like that works for you in order to capture the information. And I think this is it. It's believing that it has to be done by filling out that one form when that might not work for you. So make it work for you by using a format that you feel comfortable with, that works for you. And some of these ways might be that format. So I hope that was helpful, and that perhaps there might be something here that resonates with you in terms of any struggles that you have in relation to capturing the material to put on your Judge Your Neighbour worksheet. Thank you for attempting to tune into my live session, and thank you now for listening to and watching this recording, this video. As I said, if you've got any comments or any questions, please post them in the thread, and I will be sure to follow up and answer them for you and create any extra material that's going to be of value and assist you with the work practice based on my own experiences.